The sound of cutlery and soft Christmas music filled the room when my sister smiled across the table and said, "Mom and Dad say I can move into your new condo next week." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. The warmth of wine burned down my throat as I set the glass back on the table. "Oh?" I said lightly. "Thanks for letting me know in advance. Tuesday sounds perfect." Her grin widened, clueless. She thought she'd won something. But that was only because she never had to earn anything in her life. Let me back up. My name is Diana, 29, and everything I own was carved out of sleepless nights and extra shifts. Since 16, I'd worked through school, grocery stores, hotel counters, even overnight shifts where I'd fight to stay awake while guests complained about the coffee temperature. My parents never paid for tuition, gas, or rent. They didn't believe in helping once I turned 18. But my younger sister, Veronica, she lived in a different world. At 25, she'd never kept a job longer than a season. My parents funded her car, her clothes, her endless mental health breaks. When she dropped out of college, they called it figuring herself out. Meanwhile, I figured out how to survive. By 24, I'd saved enough for a down payment on a small house. By 29, I bought my second property, a 2-bedroom condo downtown, newly renovated and perfect as a rental. It was a quiet victory. No one in my family even congratulated me. When I mentioned it during a casual call about Christmas dinner, my mother just said, "Oh, that's nice, dear," before asking who'd bring dessert. So when Veronica announced at dinner that she'd be moving in, without even asking me, something in me hardened. I looked around the table. My father sliced ham as if nothing unusual had been said. My mother avoided eye contact. "Well, you've got that extra place now," she said flatly. "It makes sense. Veronica needs somewhere safe and you can afford it." I smiled. Calm, polite, the way years in hospitality had trained me. "Of course," I said. "Tuesday works." They all seemed relieved, mistaking my calm for agreement. No one noticed the tiny flicker of a plan beginning to take shape behind my smile. That night, as I drove home through glittering neighborhoods, fury pulsed under my calm. They had turned my accomplishment into another way to serve Veronica. When I reached my kitchen, I opened my laptop. If Veronica thought she was moving in on Tuesday, then Tuesday it would be, but not the way she expected. I drafted the condo's rental listing. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, stainless steel kitchen, balcony view of downtown. Posted it on 3 sites. By midnight, it was live. By morning, 17 inquiries flooded in. I smiled, sipping my coffee. Let them think I'm generous. Let them think I'll give it away. They'd learn soon enough what earning something really looked like. And on Tuesday, my sister would learn it first. By Christmas morning, my inbox was full. 17 messages, 3 strong candidates, and one decision that would quietly rewrite every line of power in my family. I spent the next 2 days responding to tenants while everyone else was unwrapping gifts and pretending peace. By December 26th, I'd narrowed it down to 3. A graduate student, a married pair of teachers, and a woman named Jessica, a physical therapist who'd been at her clinic for 4 years. Jessica's message was short but steady. She loved the condo, could move in immediately, and had the kind of quiet professionalism I respected. We met 2 days later, Friday at noon, the air still thick with leftover holiday chill. She stepped into the condo and froze, eyes wide at the view through the balcony glass. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "I can already picture myself here." Something about her sincerity struck me. After years surrounded by entitlement, this woman's gratitude felt grounding. I showed her around, kitchen, bedrooms, laundry nook. She asked thoughtful questions, took notes, smiled at the details. I didn't even need to think twice. You can have it, I said, handing her the lease. Move in whenever you like. Her eyes lit up. Really? That's amazing. I can move Tuesday if that works. Tuesday. The same Tuesday Veronica was supposed to arrive with her suitcases and her parents' approval. The universe couldn't have aligned it better. Jessica handed me the cashier's checks for rent and deposit. Everything legal, sealed, perfect. We shook hands, and she left humming, a melody of quiet victory. When the door closed, I stood in the stillness, watching late sunlight flood the hardwood floors. This place had been built by me for me. No one would ever again make me feel guilty for earning something. I turned off the lights and locked the door, my heart finally calm. The weekend passed in silence. My parents didn't call. Veronica didn't text. I didn't reach out either. On Monday night at 9:17 p.m., my phone lit up. Still good for tomorrow? Moving in around 2 p.m. Her message was bubbly, full of emojis. I replied with a single line, "Yes, see you then." When I set my phone down, I almost laughed. For once, I didn't feel dread before seeing my family. I felt anticipation, steady, sharp, precise. Tuesday morning, I woke early, made breakfast, and checked my messages. At 1:30 p.m., Jessica texted a picture of her new living room. Boxes stacked neatly, sunlight streaming across her plants. Made it. This place is even better than I remembered. 15 minutes later, my phone rang. My mother's voice, tight and trembling. "Diana, where are you?" "At home," I said evenly. "Why?" "Veronica's at the condo. There are people there. Movers, boxes, strangers moving in." I sipped my coffee. "Yes," I said. "Those are my tenants." Silence. Then her voice sharpened. "Your tenants?" "I rented the condo last week," I said softly. "I thought I mentioned that." "You most certainly did not." "Veronica's standing outside with all her things, humiliated." "I'm sorry she's upset," I said. "But the condo is occupied now. This is unacceptable." She shouted. "You knew she was moving in." "Actually," I said, my voice cool as glass, "no one asked me anything. You all decided for me." On the other end, I could hear my father's voice rising, Veronica crying. "You fix this," my father barked. "Your sister is on the sidewalk crying. The neighbors are watching." "I can't fix it," I said quietly. "The lease is signed and the tenant lives there now. Break the lease." "I won't." The silence stretched long, heavy and final. "After everything we've done for you," my father said bitterly. I almost smiled. "You raised me. That was your job. I've handled everything since 19. I don't owe you my property." He went quiet. My mother sobbed softly. I ended the call. As I set my phone down, the anger melted into something else. Something clear, cold, and clean. They wanted a lesson. And now they had one. But the real fallout hadn't even begun yet. That evening, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine while my phone buzzed endlessly in the kitchen drawer. I didn't need to read their messages to know the contents. Guilt, blame, and disappointment. The family trinity I'd grown up under. I watched the winter sky dim into shades of lavender, feeling something I hadn't felt in years: peace. For once, I hadn't folded. By the next morning, I had 12 unread texts, 3 missed calls, and 1 voicemail. My mother's voice trembled in the recording. "Diana, this behavior is unacceptable. You've humiliated your sister. She told all her friends she was moving downtown, and now she has to go back home. You've embarrassed us all. I hope you're happy." I saved the voicemail, not for revenge, but for record. Then I made breakfast and went to work like nothing had happened. The next few days were calm. Then, on Friday evening, I came home to a card taped to my front door. It was my mother's handwriting, delicate, deliberate, and dangerous. Inside, the message was long and neatly written. We're giving you 1 week to reconsider. If you terminate your tenant's lease and let Veronica have the condo like we agreed, we can move past this. If not, there will be consequences. We cannot have a relationship with someone who treats family this way. The choice is yours. I laughed out loud, a short, dry sound that startled even me. They actually believed they could threaten me into obedience. I reread the note 3 times. Each time, my anger thinned until it became something else. Relief. They were showing me, in perfect handwriting, why I had to draw the line. I walked outside, lit a match, and watched the paper curl into ash. When it was gone, I whispered to the empty night, I choose peace. 3 days later, my aunt called. She spoke in that heavy, pitying tone relatives use when they've already picked a side. Your mother's been crying, she said. Couldn't you have made an exception for your sister? She's family. Family, I repeated, almost smiling. The word everyone hides behind when they want to cross your boundaries. She hesitated. Not everything's about money and property. You're right, I said softly. It's about respect. And if they wanted mine, they should have given it first. After that, the calls stopped. No texts, no guilt trips, just silence, the kind that hums like freedom. Then, a week later, I found another letter in the mail. This one was shorter and colder, typed neatly and signed by both parents. Since you've chosen to prioritize money over family, we're removing you from our will. Everything will go to Veronica, who values family above all else. We hope you find happiness in your choices. I folded it calmly and slid it into my file, drawer beside my mortgage papers. Right. Next to the proof that I'd never needed their money. Didn't sting the way they hoped. It confirmed something I already knew. Their love had always been transactional. That night, I poured another glass of wine and looked out at the city lights blinking across the horizon. I thought of Veronica's face when she'd realized she couldn't simply take what she wanted. Of my parents' shock when their power didn't work on me. For the first time, I felt free from all of it. The expectations, the guilt, the manipulation. But I also knew my silence wouldn't last forever. They had their story. Soon I'd tell mine. And when I did, I wouldn't whisper it this time. Weeks passed. The cold softened into early spring, and with it came clarity. My life was steady, my work thriving, the condo thriving. Rented, respected, secure. But my parents hadn't stopped. They just changed tactics. One afternoon, my cousin Olivia messaged me out of nowhere. Hey Diana, I saw what your mom posted about you on Facebook. You might want to check. My chest went tight. I opened the screenshot Olivia sent, and there it was, a long, poetic monologue about heartbroken parents, ungrateful children, and the tragedy of a daughter who chose money over family. No names were mentioned, but anyone who knew us could connect the dots. The comments were a mix of sympathy and venom. Strangers called me cold, selfish, and spoiled. I sat back and exhaled slowly. Even now, they couldn't stop trying to control the story. For years, I'd stayed silent to keep peace. But peace built on lies wasn't peace, it was a cage. That night, I opened my laptop and began typing. Not a rant, not revenge. The truth. I wrote about how I'd worked since 16. How I'd put myself through school. How I'd saved for the condo, paid every cent with my own hands. I explained how my parents had decided, without asking, that my sister would move in. And how I'd refused to be erased from my own achievement. I didn't insult them. I didn't exaggerate. I simply wrote what happened, then ended with one final paragraph. I love my family, but love without respect is control. I worked hard for what I have, and I won't apologize for having boundaries. If that makes me selfish, then so be it. I clicked post, and then I waited. Within an hour, the comments flooded in. Coworkers, old classmates, distant relatives. Good for you. You did the right thing. Family doesn't mean servitude. By morning, the post had been shared over 100 times. People messaged me privately, thanking me for saying what they never could. Stories poured in, daughters, sons, siblings, all punished for saying no. It was overwhelming and healing. Then Olivia called again. Your mom deleted her post, she said. And people are talking. The family's realizing what really happened. For the first time, their silence worked in my favor. No more guilt. No more twisting words behind my back. The truth had light now, and truth, once spoken, doesn't go back to sleep. 3 days later, my phone rang. My mother's name glowed on the screen. Diana, she said tightly. We need to talk. About what? About that thing you posted. You've made us look like terrible parents. I leaned back, calm. If the truth makes you look bad, that's not my fault. She exhaled sharply. The whole family's asking questions. You embarrassed us. You posted about me first, I said. I just filled in the missing context. We're your parents. You owe us respect. Respect goes both ways, I replied. And you haven't given me any in years, her voice cracked. What do you want from us? Nothing, I said softly. I just want to live my life without being guilted for it. Silence filled the line, fragile, uncertain, almost human. Then she said quietly, so that's it? You're done with us. You said we couldn't have a relationship unless I did what you wanted. I'm just accepting the terms you set. I could hear her breathing hard, struggling to find words that could still bend me. Maybe, she began, her tone wavering, appreciate your letter. I'm willing to talk, but only if we set boundaries first. My property and finances are my own. I won't be pressured again. And Veronica needs to be held to the same standards you held me to. If we can agree on that, I'm open to rebuilding. A week later, they called. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. The conversation started stiffly but softened as it went. For the first time, my parents didn't interrupt or lecture. They listened. My mother admitted something I'd never expected to hear. It was easier to take care of Veronica than to let her fail. I thought I was protecting her. My father nodded. We assumed you didn't need us. You were so capable, so strong. We took that for granted. Their words weren't redemption, but they were real. I told them how their favoritism had hurt me, how it made me feel invisible for years. It wasn't about money. It was about fairness. By the end of the meeting, something fragile but true had taken root between us. Honesty. When my mother brought up Veronica, her voice trembled. She's still angry. She says you ruined her life. I shook my head. I didn't ruin it. I forced her to start it. My father looked down at his coffee. We've told her she needs to work now. Get a job or move out. It's time. For once, they meant it. The following months proved it. Veronica fought the change, but the rules held. Eventually, she got a receptionist job at a dental office and moved into a small apartment with a roommate. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers, just like my first apartment had been. And little by little, my parents learned what real love looked like. Accountability. They stopped trying to control me. They treated Veronica like an adult instead of a child. We weren't suddenly a perfect family, but we were finally an honest one. As for me, my life moved forward. Jessica, my tenant, eventually relocated for work, and I found another responsible renter without issue. My career flourished. I was promoted to hotel manager. I built a steady, fulfilling relationship with Trevor, A kind man who understood that peace is worth protecting. One evening, months later, Veronica showed up at my door. She looked older, tired but grounded. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "I was angry because you made me face myself. I hated you for it, but it forced me to grow up." Her voice cracked. "Thank you." For a long moment, I said nothing. Then I opened the door wider. "Come in," I said softly. "It's cold out. We didn't become best friends overnight, but that was never the goal. What mattered was that she was finally learning, the way I once had to, that survival doesn't come from being given everything, but from earning it." Months later, sitting on my porch at sunset, I thought back to that first Christmas dinner, to the smile Veronica wore when she thought my condo was hers. That night had felt like betrayal. Now it felt like the beginning of freedom. The sky burned in orange and gold as the city lights flickered on below. I breathed deeply. No guilt, no anger, no need for revenge. My family had learned boundaries. Veronica had learned self-reliance. And I had learned that peace is the most powerful form of justice. Because sometimes, the truest revenge isn't cruelty or silence. It's simply living well, with your dignity intact, while those who tried to control you are left to face the mirror. And that was my victory, my closure, my ending.